I've had a childhood dream of owning a woodland. My father's cousin was the chief forester in Denmark, and as a child we used to go and visit him, and he lived literally in a wooden cabin in the woods, and I wanted that life. I thought it was so exciting, and I never thought it would happen. But my beautiful wife is very much a city person. In lockdown, she began to see the joy of maybe living in the country. And so we moved out to the country, and as it happens, the property we purchased came with 15 acres of woodland. My lucky day. What I didn't realise when I bought the woodland is how little I know, how ignorant I am. I did not know, for example, that in order to look after a woodland you really have to manage it properly, and that involves cutting down some trees because you have to allow the light into the woodland. This woodland had not been managed for generations. It's an ancient woodland which is disappearing in the UK, and it was really important that we did it properly. So I've learnt two things. One, it's very expensive, and two, ask for help. Ask the experts. Everybody wants to help. We've had the most joyous relationships with foresters who've come here and seen the potential and told us what we need to do. Community involvement in the woodland is really important to us, and what's been extraordinary about it is it has developed entirely organically. I went and spoke at the village council meeting and said, I'm finding it too much, and I immediately got offers of help. I really think it's important to tell people what you're doing and why, and put notices up and explain about cutting trees down or why particular work needs to be done, to get them on side. And a lot of the time we found it's just people say, oh, I was a bit frightened of anything to do with the woods, or I didn't feel I knew anything could contribute anything. Everybody can contribute something, from the smallest child pricking out an oak seedling and repotting it and putting it somewhere else. Everybody can do something. One of the things we want to do in the future, and probably we'll try and turn this into a massive volunteer day, there is fencing along the country lane at the edge of the meadow, and I want to plant hedgerow all the way along. So there are plans to put new planting in as well, but first there's a lot of tidying to do. And I've discovered pretty much in every area that I've now been, because I go to other woodlands all the time, pretty much every area I go to there's some kind of local organisation of people who are keen to help, and people who love trees, and people who have years and years of experience. I had a wonderful walk through the woods with a woman from the Forestry Commission. We've applied for some grants because we can't afford to keep fencing and knocking it. It's expensive, so we're going to need some help. But if you ask, the help is available, and that's a wonderful thing. One of the reasons that this woodland has not been managed is because it's on a very steep hill and it has an enormous number of underground streams and springs and so on. So it's difficult. That has also been its saving grace, because nobody has come in, felled all the timber and just planted fir trees or pine forest or whatever. It was a problem for us because how do you get timber extracted? We need to open up some rides. We need to give space for the birds and the butterflies and all the wonderful flowers and so on. And here's where the internet is a marvellous thing. I found this incredible woman on the internet called Frankie Woodgate, and Frankie only extracts timber using horses. And of course horses are ideal for this kind of territory, and their hooves also help to grind up, if you like, the forest floor, and will help with the regeneration of whatever is in the seed bank that we don't know about. So what's been extraordinary is that what was a huge problem, we couldn't get anything mechanised in here, has turned out to be glorious. So the very first thing that we did was try and make sure that the wood is safe, because even if people keep to the footpaths, you want to make sure that every single tree along there is not going to hit them on the head. You cannot guarantee it. Can I just say, the trees that I have been told are perfectly safe can still fall down, but I felt that I had to do due diligence and make sure that things were safe. So we spent an enormous amount of money bringing down anything that we thought might be dangerous, taking the tops off trees that were large but still could work for bats and stuff. So we've taken all sorts of advice. So safety was our primary thing. We have had bat surveys, we've had bird surveys, we've had deer surveys, we've had anybody and everybody that we can think of come and tell us what we can do to make sure that we turn this into a place where a diversity of nature can thrive. We want to make sure that the woodland in a tiny way can sustain itself. It can't, but it would be nice. All of the wood that's been extracted has been cut up into logs, and my lovely men's group from the village, the branch managers, made a beautiful log store without any plans. We just thought, oh, it needs a roof, and there was a lot of laughter and a lot of coffee. And it's all been sawn up into logs now, and the local farm shop says they'll sell it for us. And we're hoping to sell it quite reasonably because people have issues with fuel bills and so on these days. But any of that money will come back into the woodland. Cost has been foremost in my mind pretty much since day one. And much as I love the local tree surgeon, James and his brother, I can't keep shelling out. So I was watching them chainsawing and I thought, it can't be that difficult. So me and my wife and two of our neighbours who had bought all the kit 3 years ago but never dared use it, we had a lesson together, the four of us. And we learnt how to chainsaw. It's been one of the most joyous things in my life. I like to be competent, and I do suggest anybody who owns a woodland be able to just deal with the tree that's come down, be able to just cut it up and get rid of it. Don't be scared. If I can do it, I'm 65 years old and I'm tiny. Honestly, anybody can do it. Do not buy a chainsaw unless you've had training. That's really number one. And it's a interesting, sobering lesson that when they sell you a chainsaw, they sell you a first aid kit at the same time. So just be aware how extremely dangerous it is. I had imagined when I bought the woodland that there would be many, many days where I would sit with a book underneath a favourite tree and enjoy the peace and quiet. And that has not happened one time. And it hasn't happened one time because every time I come in, there's always something to do. There's a branch down on the ride that I need to get my chainsaw stuff out and deal with. And I'm saying this to myself, to anybody who thinks of buying a woodland or being involved in looking after a woodland, don't forget to just enjoy it. Don't forget to just come and sit and listen. Listen how many species of bird we can hear here. Must be half a dozen at the very least. There's a great tit, I can recognise the sound. Enjoy it, because that's also what it's for. It's really good for us. The Japanese call it forest bathing, shirin-yoku. And in Scandinavia, where I'm from, we call it friluftsliv. It's the life in the air. Don't forget to do that because you're so busy managing your woodland. And I think I'm in danger of being too busy here. Actually, sitting and talking to you is about the longest I've sat in the woodland, which is terrible. So, top tip, first make sure the woodland is as safe as you can possibly make it. Secondly, learn to do stuff for yourself because it is hugely expensive. Reach out. There are so many places that you can get help. You know, I'm a big fan of the Woodland Trust, but also incredible forestry agents who will help you, and the local people will help you. And finally, enjoy it because it's magic.